Okay, so it gives me very great pleasure to kick our conference off by introducing Jessica People, who is one of our Time to Change Young Champions. Thanks, Jessica.
Hello, my name is Jessica. I am a counselling student, a mental health activist and blogger from Basingstoke. So I was a kid who was really shy. I rarely put my hand up in class. I was bullied, struggled academically. Sort of battled with these moments of complete terror, which I didn't really understand. I didn't really know what was going on. Before I go any further, I'd like to reassure you all that failing isn't necessarily a bad thing. It only shows you're trying. So life is not a straight road. It's like one of those roller coasters that you see. You're off at the theme park. Sort of learned that. So, like, have you got that special friend, that friend who would support you through absolutely anything? Have your back and keep that smile planted to your face. So, his name was Sean. He was like my bodyguard, a listening ear, a comedian, a hard worker, and got me through my time at secondary school. So there are two options now after school, but I chose the college pathway. The transition was tough, but with lots of group work. As a media student, I quickly settled in. But at the back of my mind, I always knew that something was wrong. I couldn't cope with the workload and other pressures of college life. I used to sometimes sit in class and my heart would beat out my chest, which led me to running out the classroom. Later on, I was told this was a panic attack. So in school, I was taught nothing about mental health, and I think that's completely wrong. Considering the amount of young people that, 1 in 4 people get in a mental health condition, it's just mad. So listening is also really important. So in my experience, I planned for months of regular talks with Childline and friends about my low moods before I gained the courage to open up to my teacher. And months before that, I worked through who I should open up to. And sadly, when I did that, I was just forwarded onto the wellbeing team. So that all built up to nothing. I wasn't looking for any solutions. I was looking for someone to listen. Yes, I know teachers are stuck behind lots of rules and regulations. But I just wish that could be loosened just a little bit. I know they're not counsellors, but young people spend most of their time in education. So that's, obviously they're going to open up to their teachers. So when I reached college, I tried again, and I spoke to my tutor who listened to me. He had to keep this a secret, which I feel is completely unacceptable. Considering what I said wouldn't have ever broken confidentiality. So my nan passed away. I left school with 1 GCSE, and they were both horrible, but this was the beginning. My life took a turn for the worse in May 2015. Life flashed before my eyes with the sudden news of my friend's suicide. So obviously this is Sean. He was only 17 years old. It was far too early to leave this world. And I felt a lot of guilt, even though I knew it wasn't my fault, but it's sort of a natural feeling, I guess. You leave thinking, did I miss something? Could I have done something? But, hopefully not. So losing anyone is tough. And I would advise anyone that loses anyone to don't ever do it alone, because I did it and it was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. So in this chapter of my life, I started self-harming. Because I felt so alone, I hit another wall in my recovery. It's you don't really want to burden anyone else with your problems. Most people say, oh, go and talk to your parents about your problems. No, I feel that if I spoke to my parents about my problems, then they would feel like they're bad parents, so I'd rather just avoid that altogether. So later on, I made a massive step in opening up to my cousin, just a few days after Sean's funeral. So social media has played a huge part in me opening up. I think face-to-face is really difficult, but if you're behind a computer screen, it just makes it so much easier. I told him about my low mood, self-harm, suicidal thoughts, guilt, and lastly about my worsening panic attacks, and it honestly couldn't have got a better response. I was in and out of the doctors till December when I was finally referred to the community mental health team. Things were looking up. The assessment wasn't successful, and that is when I jumped back on the roller coaster. I just like no visible light at the end, so I turned back to Childline. With all these thoughts running through my mind, the constant pressure to act like everything was exhausting. But Childline just gave me that place where I felt understood, listened to, and not judged. Later on, I was diagnosed with depression. I went back to college to study media with the hopes of becoming a radio presenter in the future. So I love listening to the radio. The music industry sort of acted like an escape for me. There was new things in my life, and that was campaigning. I became a mental health activist for a charity called Young Minds, where I met other young people who have been through similar things. I felt like I'd finally be myself. My work with Young Minds has so far included working with the royal family radio interviews and having laughs with Prince Harry. My life has certainly turned around, and now I'm seeking professional help from a counsellor, pursuing a dream to become a counsellor, volunteering for other charities called The Mix and Time to Change. So I feel I now have a purpose in life and just determination and power to move on. The stigma and misconceptions of mental illness are horrible. Today is the day we can start making that change. Thank you so much. My name is Jessica Peterson.